detective thrill me.
Thanks for joining us for another episode. Gibbo, thanks for turning up again.
Oh, you're welcome.
How long's it been there?
Oh,
It's been a good 6 weeks.
Oh,
I mean, you've missed some absolute crackers
yeah.
in that time.
I don't feel bad about missing much of what you did. I've listened to it all. I don't think I'll lose any sleep.
No, look, well, yeah, look, you missed a...
I came back for the right one. Put it that way.
Yeah, well, of course. Tonight we're covering off on It Chapter 2. Obviously only got released a few days ago. Mm-hmm. Before we get into that, though, let's do a quick rip round. Jared, me and you have got limited numbers. What have you seen?
A little bit more Woo Assassins.
Woo Assassins.
Woo Assassins. Yeah, I'm kind of enjoying it, but it's Eco Weiss doing his thing, so I like that. The only other thing I watched was Double Dragon.
Oh no, not the original one.
Yeah, it showed up on
Has that got
Amazon
Scott
Prime.
Wolf in it?
Yeah, Scott Wolf and Mark Dacascos.
So one martial artist.
It showed up on Amazon Prime, and I'd remembered it was written, or the story was put together by Paul Dini, who's one of my favourite writers, and I was just thinking, how the fuck did he get tied up in this? So I went back and watched it.
Still bad.
I don't know, if he wrote it, I'd imagine not a lot of what he wrote is left, because usually he writes good stuff. So
Was it shit ass?
Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah,
Have you
it's
seen
terrible.
it?
No.
Oh, don't.
Mate, I left Double Dragon when I was about 15, and you're in the arcades,
Right.
elbowing blokes, that was it. So that was everything.
That was it.
Jesus.
Too much World Cup basketball, too much NBA 2K20.
Nice.
Yeah.
You've purchased also then?
I have,
Yes.
yep.
Mm-hmm.
I watched It Chapter 1 just to refresh.
Yep.
And the only other thing I watched was a true crime adaptation called True Story, and it has James Franco and Jonah Hill in it, and it's based on this bloke who killed his entire family, and then when he went on the run, he used the alias of a journalist for the New York Times, and so when he got caught, of course they let this guy know, he was calling himself you. And so when he goes and starts talking to him, he starts getting the story and he starts writing a book about it. Look, it was actually all right. Jonah Hill and Franco were both excellent. Mm-hmm. For Jonah Hill, it was a big departure because at that stage, I don't think he'd done a lot of dramatic parts, and this was one of his first ones, and he was quite good. So all round, it was okay. It wasn't a brilliant story. It was interesting enough, but it didn't wow me. But the acting is worth a look for the performances at the very least. But that is it.
Wow, you guys were lean.
Yeah, we were lean.
Right, well, I've done my usual thing where I'm super unreliable for weeks to months on end and just bank up shitloads of stuff. So I went through all of Black Mirror, finally. I hadn't watched any of it.
How was that?
It's friggin' good, but it
gets dark.
Some rough shit in there. Some real rough stuff. But yeah, it's very thought-provoking, a lot of stuff, and you see what they're trying to really get at. There's a lot of social commentary and stuff in there. If you're not squeamish, it's definitely worth a look. Like, if you're not going to be traumatised by some of the stuff. The first one I came in on was the British Prime Minister when the princess gets... Like, that's a bad way to start. Don't start with pig rape.
Is that he has to have sex with a pig?
Yeah, yeah. So,
Why am I laughing at that?
it's very uncomfortable, the whole thing. Handmaid's Tale season 2.
That's speaking of dark. That's also fairly
Yeah. There's not many smiles in my list so far. That's so good though, that show. I've got to get to season 3 now. Obviously, it's out, but I haven't had a chance to get to that one yet. But big fan of that stuff. I watched Ben Affleck movie called The Town.
Yeah.
I heard Bill Simmons was talking about it a bunch of times doing his...
I heard that's not bad.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah. Very Boston-centric crime sort of caper. It's really good. It's got a really good cast in it. So that one's definitely worth a look. Finally got around to watching Alita Battle Angel. Long.
Did you eat some crow on it like Jared did?
No, I didn't think it was going to be that
It was
shit.
a couple of wings. It wasn't a whole crow.
No, it was breast. You ate breast.
I actually didn't think it was going to be that bad. I was like one of the minority that was actually sort of thinking this looks pretty cool. It's basically just Astro Boy for me.
Really?
Yeah,
It's very similar. Some of the
With
stuff
some
in it.
violence and some pretty cool rollerball scenes.
Well, the rollerball things are weird.
It's
take.
weird, but some of the scenes of it were...
Oh, to look at
really
it's
good.
spectacular, and the CGI and it's unreal. The love interest dude in it could not act his way out of a wet paper bag. Like, he is pathetic. He's that bad.
Who was he?
He's no one.
It's really forced.
Mate, but like even like it's probably hard because he's not acting next to anyone really, right? Like he's probably up against a tennis ball a lot, but mate, he is shit.
You're going to make that work though.
They don't make shit.
You've got to make that
Find
work.
someone that can. You know what I mean? Like I don't think they were hurting for money. It was $200 million budget. Find
Yeah, but
someone
all that was
better than
spent elsewhere. When they got to his role, it was like we got
How
scaled.
much we got left? 200k. Find anyone for 200k.
The annoying part about it is the end of the movie is the most blatant. Like we're going to have a sequel, and you have to come back and watch it because we've resolved nothing.
Do we assume that there is
There's
going
not
to
gonna
be
be a
no
sequel.
sequel?
I don't think it made enough money.
It only made just over 400 million, and they needed to get to like 500 to break even on budget and all that other shit. So
Ow. So I feel I haven't eaten any crow. I haven't seen the film, but I did say it would be the biggest flop of the year.
it
I
was.
don't think it is because Dark Phoenix has got that
I was
covered.
eating a little bit of crow in terms of the quality. I thought it was just going to be bad all round, but the movie was better than I expected it to be. But yeah,
It's a little bit too Disney, as in like the I believe and I'm going to do what's right and that sort of shit. Just fuck off. But other than that, it was good. It's too long. It's got too many different things going on in there, but it just looks spectacular.
Yeah. Speaking of crow, just by the way, I've got a big fat juicy crow currently roasting for Rambo the Last Blood. So
prepare it, just baste it, get it ready.
it's ready to
it's
go,
gonna be
mate.
shit,
It's currently.
you're excited.
I've been kicking the living daylights out of it. So I'm expecting to eat some crow.
The amount of shit you've given it, if it's a 2.5 out of 5, you are you're at least having a nibble.
Might be a double bunger crow. Really, too.
That comes out in 2 weeks' time.
Does it? I thought it was still further away.
Yep.
Well,
I think we're going to have to do that one too.
We should do it.
We're going to do it. We're going to have to do a viewing party on that one.
We can't stretch
because
it
my
out
wife
too
wants
long.
nothing to do with it.
Neither does mine, but that's why they're stupid. It's going to be brilliant.
They can't stretch the release out too long because you want Sly to be alive when it premieres. So you've really got to rush these things.
I can't wait to see him.
Well, you know what? He told us it was awesome. I take his word for it. He's never lied ever.
No.
He's turned you around.
He told me Over the Top was good.
His Instagram messages.
Over the
He's
top
turned you
is
around.
not good. Started on Wu Assassins, got very excited. The first fight sequence is very, very cool. And I'm like, yes, this is basically just like the Raid series. And then they start getting into the supernatural stuff with the special effects, and it plummets.
It's like kids show.
It's very tough.
The mysticism and all that sort of stuff. It's like kids show level.
But then it's brutally violent elsewhere.
Yeah, the fight scenes are holding up. Like I'm watching it and I'm kind of like I'm not invested in any of the characters, but then okay, there's a punch up and it might have Dacascos or it might have Iko Weiss, and it's like well, this is cool.
So is there a tone issue?
It's
don't
like
really
4
know
different
what it
shows
is.
in one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because also the other thing is there's no one in it that can act at all. Like none.
The Cascos?
Nah.
Huh?
No. Well, he doesn't really get a chance.
No,
Like
he doesn't,
he's basically like a camouflage for the main character to keep him safe. It's hard to explain to you.
Does that get you?
Sorry, I nodded off.
He's taken on the power of 1,000 monks, and so he can look like any of them to protect his real identity, so that people don't come after him. And that's what I'm talking about. It's just a lot of shit, but the actual fighting's good. Speaking of fighting movies, I watched Bleed for this.
Jared also watched this
Teleboxing?
recently, yeah. Not a smart man, I believe. This bloke.
Very silly.
Yeah, I'd luckily be walking. Let's go do another boxing match. It's generic fucking boxing movie, and it's just been done to me
I
times.
felt the best thing I got out of it, I think, was Aaron Eckhart's performance.
With the bald fat trainer.
Yeah, I thought he was pretty good, but
Yeah.
the whole thing, it's as I said. I think I said to Adam at the time, it's hard to avoid all the cliches or something you've seen before with his boxing stuff, other than his real life story, which is like, it's incredible, but man, that could have gone so wrong for you.
Yeah,
Like,
especially the dirty fights at the end. Like, all the people, like that guy punched a horse out. Like, literally did it. He's like, watch this, hands it, holding, here we go. Fucking horse and laying on the ground. Don't fight that guy when you've had a neck injury.
I didn't know he fought Conan, so I must have missed that part.
It was fine. I watched Point Blank, which is a Netflix one.
Oh, is that the one with Frank Grillo?
Yeah, Frank Grillo and
Anthony McKee?
Anthony Mackie.
How's that?
It's pretty good. Like very generic action again, but it's got some cool stuff in it. Those two have some pretty good
I'm a Frank Grillo fan.
It's
I'm a
a
big fan
switch
of
your
him,
brain
so.
off action movie. Like there's nothing special in it.
And I like Anthony Mackie as well, so.
Yeah. Well, he's good.
I saw the trailer for it and I was kind of like, this looks like cool.
The trailer's pretty funny because it knows it doesn't take itself seriously, which really helps it. Watched another Netflix one called I Am Mother.
Oh yeah, is that the
About
one
girl
with
that gets raised
Hilary
by the
Swank?
robot. Hilary Swank's in it. Yep.
Any good?
It's very cool.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, I definitely wanna have a look at
very
that.
different. Again, it's kind of like an Ex Machina meets like Aliens sort of thing. A lot of social commentary shit again, that sort of stuff. But
Look at you getting your $14 a month's worth out of your
mate,
Fucking
I'm
hell.
thumbed through.
originals.
Hey, I'm on Amazon now too, so I'm just
Oh,
opening
yeah?
up. Yeah. Here you go.
Oh, no, I dropped that shit fucking like it was hot.
I only got it because Riley wanted to get something that we couldn't get somewhere else, and it's like $6.
Oh look, I'm willing to go back to it, but with Disney coming
It's
out, I
got
think I
some
might just
poop on
hold
there,
back.
though.
There's some really
Yeah, I know,
bad
but you know
stuff.
what? Because we delve into a bit of shit, Amazon
Yes.
Prime possibly falls nicely into our categories.
Oh, I think it falls even lower, mate. There's like 6 Dolph Lundgren movies that I don't even want to talk about.
The fact that there's no command performance on there is fucking ludicrous.
Exactly. If you're plumbing those depths and you don't have command performance, you're not doing it right.
What a movie name.
Oh, we need that. That's the Die Hard from the Rock concert, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll find it.
Okay, we got to terrible movie. Tom Cruise's The Mummy.
Yeah, oh man, Jesus
That is shit.
Christ, it just, it
It's
didn't
just-
even make any sense.
It's just Suicide Squad. Like, it's the same feeling, and it's just. Oh,
I love Russell Crowe fucking hamming up.
oh yeah, doesn't he? Especially when he's doing the
God,
Dr. Jekyll,
over the
Mr. Hyde
drop.
thing, and yeah, no, that was very.
I mean, the
poor.
fact that movie made $400 million is fucking
It's an indictment of
unbelievable.
society. It's an indictment. Everyone should just hang their head in shame, to be honest.
Last we saw of Mr. Hyde, he was sitting at the basketball blowing up about his $1,500 seats. wasn't
Mate,
he?
wouldn't you though?
Yeah,
I'm so glad I didn't
that's
go to those
right.
games.
He couldn't
I
see
did.
shit.
I did. I went to the second game.
Did you see anything?
No, because I was in the stadium seating, so I could see. I knew
But
I
you
was
were
further away.
Long
So you
way.
were-
But
You
I
can
could
looking
see
down on
because
it.
I was elevated. I wasn't on the ground.
Mate,
I did see the people on the ground
plastic
standing
chairs
up.
in grass. Like,
Yeah.
come on, that's a joke. Speaking of bad movies, La La Land.
I liked La La Land.
I fucking hated it.
I enjoyed it a lot.
It was just nothing happened except a bunch of nonsense singing. Like, people don't do that. That's not real. Very impressive that Ryan Gosling taught himself to play piano for it. You know, props and all that. Definitely not my kind of movie either. I knew it wasn't going to be, but I thought I'd at least be able to go, oh, you know, I like how they've done some stuff. Nothing.
I think it's very much a because I was a bit like you when I was going to see it, because it wasn't for me at all, and I was just like, oh, you know, wasn't sure about it, but I actually found it quite good.
Not for me.
But I've seen, you know, it's kind of love it or hate it.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
it's just one of those things. Like, it's a movie that won a lot of awards and stuff, and I try and at least give them all a look. But yeah, that one didn't pan out. Another award winner, Happy Death Day to You. So I've now seen both of them. Didn't like the second one as much.
No.
The science fiction-y stuff takes away pretty
Big
much
time.
everything, and it still doesn't explain anything.
No.
Because looking back now,
Why that experiment
it didn't feel
affects
like
her. Like, there's no explanation. It's stupid.
the first one was so good because the conceit was so cool.
Yeah.
It's simple.
It didn't
Yeah.
feel like there was a need for a sequel,
Yeah.
somewhat, because when
Except
they
that they made
finally
a
got
shitload of
around to
money.
it, they decided they needed to kind of go bigger with it.
Yeah.
Whereas
And it ruined
I
it.
think we had a discussion when we saw it on this podcast saying that maybe it could have just been that the killer knew there was a loop too.
Yeah.
And they were avoiding it, you know,
Because I
like
think that was the best part when the other guy was in the loop.
Yeah.
And you didn't really know why, but it was like, oh, so he's living the same things over as well.
yeah.
And it was just like another character doing it. And I thought they probably could have worked with that another way, but yeah. It was,
But yeah, all that science fiction stuff about how the
And there's barely any murders in it. Like, it's not really a slasher anymore.
yeah.
No.
So that one, finally, again, another actual award winner, got Hacksaw Ridge finally, which I'd wanted to watch for a long time.
How's that?
That's awesome. Really, really good. I do not like Andrew Garfield at all. He's very strange. Look at I couldn't not see Spider-Man in a war movie. Like,
What about Vince Vaughn?
and Vince Vaughn's awesome. Really good.
Mate, I read something about him being a serial killer in his next movie or something like that, and I'm
Yep.
like, yeah, the guy's he's branching out a little
He's
bit.
doing some
getting into
stuff.
some stuff
Yeah.
that's not what he used to do.
Yeah. No, it's a really good movie. It's just, just the Andrew Garfield thing's just strange. He's just, something about him never fits in whatever movie he's in for me. So, but the movie's unreal. Watched The Office Christmas Party. Oh,
Shite.
don't watch it.
I am definitely watching.
Yeah, definitely.
Robin Hood, the one with
Oh,
Taron Egerton.
Yeah, it popped up on Netflix too, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. I'll be watching it.
It's basically like King Arthur. It's that sort of thing where it's all like
It's no, hang on.
We're medieval, but we're cool, bro. Like,
But hasn't that got Robin Hood, Cole, and Jamie Foxx's career down the toilet?
Yeah, well, I think I called it.
Jamie Foxx looks. He's acting like he thinks he's in an Oscar movie, and mate, you got to know what you're doing. Here.
Jamie, such a good actor, mate. You need to. I need to have a look at his projects.
I think he's just taking checks now. He doesn't give a shit. But it's you got to leave you got to have an open mind about facts of things that can happen with physics and reality.
Should they have spent lots of money?
$200 million. Well, put it this way: Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves was also another one of those. It was the Robin Hood story, but it was told with
Yeah,
absolutely.
that was Costner when he was white hot.
I know, but what I'm saying is,
not with his accents.
Costner could have just bumbled into a movie and
I was prepared to cop Costner's crap back then, so I'll probably end up watching this.
I didn't mind it, but you've just got to not go in thinking it's going to be a fucking period piece. It's not. It's nonsense. Like the weapons and stuff that people have in it, they're doing like. Oh, you'll see.
He's firing 5 arrows in it.
Yeah, and like at one point he jumps into a room and fire. Like there's all these guards in there, and instead of shooting the guards, he shoots his arrows over the candles to blow the candles out. Like that sort of shit. It's nonsense, but it's 2 hours of entertainment. So Bono's daughter is Maid Marian.
What?
She's not very good.
What? Has he been on the gear again? Is he?
I don't know. Anyway, that's that one. I rewatched Endgame because Riley hadn't seen it. I went with the kids when it came out on cinema, so we watched that. Still good. Yeah, enjoyable. And then for whatever reason, I watched Spy Game. The Brad Pitt.
That movie stinks.
Didn't like it?
Yeah, I fucking hated it.
I liked it.
That's one of Tony Scott's worst.
Oh, well, that's not... Yeah, come on. Tony, it's not Ridley.
Tony picked his projects.
Tony wasn't quite as laser focused as Ridley.
No, I remember watching Spy Game and just thinking, what was going on here?
No, I like that sort of stuff. It actually reminded me too because I saw a trailer today for the Sacha Baron Cohen one.
Oh, the Netflix show.
It's called Spy.
Yeah.
It looks awesome.
It dropped the other day, didn't it?
And he's going serious too, which is... Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how
Well, look, how serious can you go when you're or a mankini for large portions of your career?
Well, I don't know, mate. He's going to have to sell it to me, so we'll see.
Or try to sell Donald Trump a pornographic film when you're Ali G.
Mate, he probably asked him for it off screen. I'll tell you what, I'll take that off your hands. And then, just watch
he tried to sell Trump the ice cream glove.
That didn't help. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, well, Donald will be all over that too, wouldn't he? Yeah, and then just rewatched It Chapter 1 the night before.
Right.
This. So, that's it.
All right. Let's take a break. Here's the trailer for It Chapter 2.
Why are you crying?
No one wants to play anymore. Play a game with me, would you? On the count of 3. 1, 2.
It Chapter 2, rated R. Only in theaters September 6th.
It Chapter 2 from 2019. It's directed by Andy Muschietti, who did the original and Mama. It's produced by his sister Barbara, Roy Lee, who produced The Departed, and Dan Lin, who produced the Lego Movie.
Yeah, not produced by those other blokes that wanted to cut.
Yeah, the vultures. I think that's what we'll call them.
Yeah.
The screenplay is by Gary Doberman, who created Annabelle Creation and The Nun. And it's based on a novel by Stephen King. It stars Jessica Chastain as Beverly Marsh, James McAvoy as Bill Denborough, Bill Hader as Richie Tozer, Isaiah Mustafa as Mike Hanlon, Jay Ryan as Ben Hanscom, James Ranson as Eddie Kasparek, Andy Bean as Stanley Uris, and Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise. The budget is between 60 and 80 million, I believe. And at this point in time, I believe it's estimated to make 200 million worldwide in its opening weekend, which I think is a bit lower than the original one. They said in America, I think it was about 10 million less for its opening day.
Yeah, it's still all right, though.
Still done well. On that kind of budget.
To do it on 60 to 80 mil, you know you're going to rake it in.
Well, the first one was 35, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Roughly. So
They made 700.
They
Let's say they make 600 here.
Yeah. They'll be
fuck,
fine.
mate, it's still good dollars there.
They'll be fine.
Just a little bit of trivia. Recently in Australia, some parents lobbied to have the movie poster banned in Queensland, stating that it gave their children nightmares.
Don't fucking look at it.
It was in like bus stops and shit.
What poster are we talking about?
It's just Pennywise's face.
Oh, yeah,
the white one with the eyes and shit.
Okay, it's pretty innocuous.
It's pretty scary for
Look,
small children.
I scoffed, right? But then I don't know what show it was on, but some bloke was actually talking about how he had seen the original It on television when he was 6.
Yeah.
And he had this fear of clowns, but it wasn't what I expected, because I thought, you fucking cat. And then,
You baby.
Yeah, and then he goes, I'd get violent.
Yeah, I heard about
I
that.
see
Attack
them.
Yeah, attack the clowns.
And I want to hurt them. You know, I get angry and I'm like, fuck.
You sure he wasn't Pennywise?
I don't know. But I guess I'm thinking, okay, obviously it can affect people quite badly.
Yeah, well, you know what? That's why
especially if you're young, because you don't have the sense of what it is.
Because no kid's really going to see that poster and have anything hugely to be left scarred by, because it just had the balloon,
Yeah.
basically. That's why I thought, the first poster was that's okay for bus stops, but the new one I can understand why. Yeah,
I mean, look, it could scar some people. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, watching it at 6 years old.
Might even scars guard some people. Huh? Hey?
Ooh, good to have you back.
I'm batting all over the place in here.
All right, okay.
that was actually pretty good.
Well, thanks, Jack.
Gibbo, what were your thoughts and a score out of 5, mate?
Yes. Obviously, very, very big fan of the first one. Was super pumped for this. Organised a pre-screener at the local. Lined up in there with all the freaks and geeks. Had people in cosplay and all sorts of shit. And as I said to you guys earlier, had the worst cinema partner, stranger lady next to me that just ruined most of it, which probably didn't help the movie, but I was a little bit let down by the whole thing. I think it was probably about half an hour too long, and they just went back to the same jump scare stuff. It felt very reminiscent of the first one. There's a couple of cool bits, which we'll talk about later on, but I just felt like they were rehashing a lot of stuff and then just breaking a lot of the rules they set up. They're just ignored a lot of the time later on, which sort of knocked it down a bit. But I still really liked it. I think I had super high hopes for it, and I probably set the bar too high for it to get to. So in the end, I went with 3.5.
3.5. All right, Jared.
The same. Didn't quite live up to the first one. Surprisingly, the length didn't bother me so much when I was just kind of taking it in. You'd bang on. The biggest problem for me was Pennywise just wasn't scary for most of it, and the tone was really up and down. There were parts of the adults cast that I really liked, but almost everything I liked had a dislike to it. Like, there was just things that really, about almost all of them, that didn't work all that well. In saying that, I came out really satisfied, because the last probably half hour or so was the part that kind of landed the most for me and had the least kind of things that I wasn't so on board with. So I came out surprisingly satisfied, but probably the same. I was at a 3.5 at the end, and even then I look back and think it might have been a little bit too high. It might be more of a 3, but I'll stick with a 3.5 for now.
Yeah, I think 3.5 is probably right on the money. Look, it was a solid ending to it. It wasn't on par with the first one at all.
No,
and partially because the first one didn't have to go deeper into a little bit of the mumbo jumbo, right? So having read the book, I knew all that was coming, and I think they did as good a job as anybody could have done.
Yeah,
I think Mike's little bucket used to be full of Stephen's cocaine. That's the impression that I'm getting.
Yeah, I can just imagine it now. He's sitting there with his wife going, I've almost got to the end. What do you reckon we should do? I get this bucket and this turtle comes out. What do you think? I knew all that stuff was coming, and I think they did it as best as they possibly could to deliver that without making it so silly.
Yeah.
I'm with you. The tone was kind of up and down, but I kind of dug the dark humour, the fact that they kept that in and did it fairly regularly. But I'm also like you, that Pennywise he lost the power that he had in the original.
Yeah.
Partially because seeing him for the first time in the original set the tone. to what he was like. So to see him in this one, we kind of already knew what he was like, and you kind of just got to rehash it.
Yeah, and I think the biggest problem is, like what Gibbo said, a lot of the scares were super repetitive.
Yeah.
And they didn't really let him go to town. Like some of the best parts were like where he was just doing that part where he was rubbing the shit all over his face.
Yeah.
And that was only because it's not Pennywise is in shadow and then comes
Jumps
out
out.
into the shadow for a jump scare.
And it was kind of weird, and those sorts of things kind of hit.
Yeah.
In saying that, I thought the cast was excellent. Everybody does a good job. Bill Hader, he was the best of the bunch for me.
Even like the appearance of going from the young,
Yeah.
like
I think they did a really good job casting them and
Eddie
for their
looks
look.
like it's just the bloke's dad or something.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
he's spot
he
on.
was spot on.
They
Yeah,
did
Richie, you
some
can
really
obviously
good, some really good stuff with regards to that and the quality of that cast.
Yeah,
And they deliver. And I think ultimately the thing that, like you, Jared, I didn't feel the 3 hours. It didn't drag for me because I felt they kind of do enough to create this little, relationship between the group again.
Look, maybe it went so quickly because I felt fucking high by association with all this cosmic bullshit that I was spouting. Yeah, someone just having to sprinkle some dust in the cinema or something.
you're in a communal sweat lodge, mate.
Look,
It felt like half an hour.
I'm not going to lie. I had some. I was stiff as a board when I left the theatre. I was walking like I shit myself recently.
It was sort of the end of the second act for me. It's just like where they were doing the same. The adults go away and they're all doing their things and whatever.
Yeah.
and they see they
yeah.
flashback to what they saw when they were young and everything.
And a lot of that stuff feels like it was like they sort of cheat a little bit with things that happened in between and whatever. Like there's the bit where like Ben's walking away at the end of the first movie, and all you see him in the first movie, you see him walking away, and they leave Bill and Beverly there, and then in this one they show that Ben's crying because she's going like that sort of stuff I liked. You see this a different viewpoint.
Yeah, viewpoint.
Yeah.
But some of the other stuff they're saying, we forgot, like you don't remember it all, and this actually happened. It's like we watched the first movie.
Yeah.
We didn't see this stuff. It feels like a little bit of a cheat there, but. Yeah, I don't know. It's just that was just that main part, that second act, where I just thought like, everything was just getting rehashed and rehashed and rehashed, and it could have been pared down a bit. That's all.
Yeah. All right, likes. Look, I couldn't take a lot of notes in the theatre, so I'm very general.
Similar,
with what
yeah.
I had. So please dive in, and just so we can break it up a little.
We mentioned in the first one how cool it was seeing Pennywise the first time in the drain. In this one, when you have the hate crime and the bloke gets thrown over the bridge and he's coming up out of the water,
Yeah,
and
you just
Pennywise
see
sort of
Pennywise
stalking
standing,
on
yeah,
the side of the river.
Yeah.
I really liked that. That was cool.
And then
it
you
kind
just see all those balloons.
In the context of
Yeah.
that Adrian Mellon shit too, it was kind of like the town as well. Like it brought back the kind of darkness of the town.
The whole town's
But then,
actually.
the way that he could see Pennywise in the water, I really liked that too.
Yeah, it was reminiscent of the slideshow scene in the first one.
Yeah, yeah.
Where there's just you just sort of get flashes of him instead of this, like you said, coming out of the dark, the big obvious jump scare, like cheap ones. That stuff's a lot more unsettling.
Yeah, and I like the fact they actually brought that back because that was part of the book that didn't get included in the TV version. And I actually thought it was good to bring that in because it was kind of like Pennywise is back.
Yeah.
Like it's back.
Yeah.
But also, the town has its demons and its darkness.
Yeah.
As well as this
And that's why
thing.
he
That's
feeds
why
on the
he's
town.
there, kind of thing.
Yeah, like he was dormant, and then this hate crime happens, and all of a sudden he's back.
Yeah.
So they brought it on themselves.
I actually really liked Mike's lines, or like the lines that he's talking over the start of it too. I don't know whether it's from the book or not, but there was some lines that really landed about growing up and how he's talking about how you are what you are, like what your good memories.
Yeah.
And you choose to forget the bad stuff and all this sort of
Yeah.
stuff. And
Yeah.
when he was spouting all that shit, I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be good. Like they're on the right track here. Like I thought it was a really good intro because he was talking about the town, he was talking about growing up, and it was just I really liked that start.
And I
of it.
think that's a part of this book that I think they've done a pretty good job of covering. Is the whole idea of the growing up.
Yeah, the growing up and your fears and insecurities.
Yeah,
in
the
childhood
summer of
and,
the summer of your life and all that sort of stuff.
yeah,
and,
and they overplay it that they actually literally forget about Pennywise.
Yeah.
But I really love that angle to it. That it's actually it's the story about fucking growing up and your fears and how you deal with them and all that shit.
the cast is excellent. Like you would have expected. I expected nothing less from that cast, and I think you always get good performances out of Jessica Chastain and James McAvoy.
Yeah.
But I actually thought Bill Hader was fantastic.
Yeah.
And I actually thought the bloke who played Ben was good too.
Yeah, Jay Ryan.
Yeah.
He was okay. I thought all the actors did pretty well, but I think the only thing that let some of them down was what they got to do.
Yeah.
And so
Material was a little bit.
I think Hader was fantastic. Eddie was like, as you said, every time you saw him, it was just like, fuck, it is just like the same dude
Yeah,
growing up.
James Ransone and Jack Dylan Grazer is the kid.
Yeah, and I actually thought, I thought McAvoy did a good job. Chastain was good, although I'm not sure she got enough.
Yeah, she didn't get a lot.
So,
No.
But yeah,
Beverly
the
kind of
casting
gets
was-
shafted a touch because,
Yeah.
and again, I hate to, we're diving into dislikes here, but she was so strong in the first movie. But then she kind of gets pushed aside a little bit.
Yeah, the casting couldn't have really been done any better.
Yeah.
The only thing I was thinking is maybe Amy Adams could have done Beverly.
Yeah,
Because the chick, when she's younger, dead set looks like Amy Adams already.
Yeah, it does. I thought Chastain was a great choice, and I've got no issues with how she was.
Oh man,
in the
I'm
movie.
just talking
It was
about just
like-
physical appearance. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think it was just what she
She
got
also
to do,
had,
which we'll probably talk
I believe
about
she
later.
also had a connection with the director, didn't she? She'd been in his previous film.
Yeah.
So I
yeah.
think that was why. Because there was
She's
shitloads to
in
talk
Mama.
about that 5 minutes after the first movie hit.
Yeah, she's in that
I was
Mama,
saying,
which I
she
haven't
should be
seen
the
that,
one
but
that-
I might give that a look too. It sounds pretty.
But yeah,
strange.
I thought they were pretty good.
Yeah.
And Bill Skarsgård doesn't put a foot wrong. He does exactly what he did in the first movie,
Yeah.
and he does it well.
It's one of those things you either like it or you
He
don't
delivers.
like it.
Yeah, he never.
Yeah.
Look, I said it when we covered the first one. I still prefer Tim Curry.
No, I do not.
Just because I just found that his was the classic clown who then changes into the psychotic.
Yeah.
Whereas Skarsgård's is a little bit weirder.
Yeah.
But it's meant to be.
See, I kind of like the weirdness. Like,
Yeah.
even again, they
Yeah, a lot of
overdid it a bit with
dribbling
the dribbling and when he, but like the part in the first one that still sticks with me is in the drain.
Yeah.
When he just stops and
Yeah.
his fucking eyes just go dead, basically, and he
Yeah, and he's got
drools.
these little ticks.
Yeah.
He can actually make one of his eyes.
Yeah, he did. He does that
So-
real. He's actually
Yeah.
does
Yeah.
it because they were going to do it in
So
post.
those things add a nice little touch to it.
Yeah, I
A
think that's
different-
where I like his a bit more, and I think the costume and the
Yeah.
makeup and everything are just a little bit twisted, a little bit more twisted.
Well, it's got that cool
Curry's.
thing about how he's got
not
those
so bad
scars.
because I do love
You know,
curries.
for
Pennywise as
his
well.
mouth, the red bits, there's the scars underneath it and all that sort of shit. Like,
Yeah.
it's got, there's something about it. But he does good work.
Yeah.
And I was initially concerned it was going to be too much Pennywise. They were going to
Not
go
enough.
a bit crazy and start throwing him in our face every 5 seconds.
Yeah.
But they didn't. They actually kept it fairly. I mean, it was 3 hours long. But he's probably in it for an hour. I know.
But yeah, if they had just a couple,
But they
of-
mixed it up with the naked woman who attacks Beverly in the house.
Yeah.
Obviously the leper guy. They mixed it up. They kept having those
Hochstetter.
Hochstetter,
Oh,
yeah. You know, they did that sort of stuff. So it
the,
kept Pennywise out of it.
The big who's the big statue that comes alive?
Oh yeah,
that one
Paul
annoyed me a
Bunyan.
bit.
Paul Bunyan.
That one felt like too funny. It's just
Yeah,
It was hard to take
it was
that
one
seriously.
from. It came straight out of the book. Didn't
Yeah,
it?
it was
And
in the book.
It's just it didn't quite work that
No.
one. I actually really liked the scene under the bleachers. It felt
That
like-
was
Yeah,
my favourite
yeah.
one.
It felt
Yeah.
a little bit like a rehash of Georgie,
Yeah.
but again, it had that creepiness because
And how
it
he
was just
played on
him.
her having the thing on her face. as
Yeah,
well.
and it was just him kind of. That was the one time where I'm like, yeah, just coming out of the shadows, and that works for that because it wasn't a jump scare. It was him just kind of peeping out and talking and doing the drooling and shit again.
Yeah.
And that's where it worked again. Like
Yeah.
when they gave him the opportunity to kind of open up a little bit to it. It was just
That was
I
my
thought that
favourite
scene
thing in the
was
whole
really
movie,
cool.
that bit. Yeah. And that little girl, like the whole time you're like, buddy, just leave. Like you actually feel bad for
and
her.
then she says, "I'm leaving."
Yeah.
he kind of still.
But she's
reels
so
it in
innocent, and you can tell when he says I can fix because she gets teased about this birthmark.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And he says I can just blow it right away, and she gets his like that little girl did a really good job.
Yeah.
She's like it's like someone just like fixed a whole life.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh please, that'd be so amazing. And then he does the 1, 2, 3, and like the countdown wait thing, and that scare that was the best one in the
Oh,
movie.
he
for
just
me.
leaps out of
Yeah.
it. Yeah, that was good. I said before that the humour, I actually kind of felt it was okay to go down that route. Yeah, it might have. It possibly sort of threw the tone out a touch because it wasn't as scary. So what we ended up with was, and a couple of times they went comedic at probably the wrong time.
Yeah, when they
Yeah.
had built tension
Oh,
and they were
yeah.
getting giggling. Yeah.
They
Yeah,
threw
I
a couple of gags in where I was just like,
See, the
we're in the
humour
middle of something serious
The humour
here.
was good, but yeah, I had a big dislike to it, and that was it. Where it was placed sometimes. Like prior to that, there was with that when they were having dinner at the restaurant or whatever, and there's gags coming out there. That's fine. That all works because that's building your characters up again. But yeah, sometimes. We might go into it a bit later. But sometimes it would just
picked
come
a couple of times not to.
Sometimes it would just come at the perfect time to just undercut everything you'd just done before.
Yeah. Especially when you got an idiot sitting next to you, giggling her head off when it's the scary parts are on, and then when it's
But overall, I was okay with the
Punch
humour.
someone
You
in the
would have
neck
heard
so
him go
hard.
for a walk under the bleachers.
Oh, did you? Go and have a look under that seat over there and get your face bitten off, you idiot.
Because, like the first film, some of that humour worked in the first film as well.
Yeah.
And they were trying, they were
Yeah, but
giving
it was never
Richie
really
the same.
placed in the
It
same.
wasn't in
Yeah,
the
no,
scary
they-
stuff.
they
It was
placed
mostly just
it-
Richie and shit.
Things
Humour in
went
the
things
first-
went bad in the last half hour.
The humour in the first one were when the kids were being kids.
Yeah.
And when Eddie's yelling at his mum and things like that, there wasn't much in the first one where the humour was misplaced. This one, it was all over the shop.
Yeah.
Like some of the gags were really funny, and then like there was just way too many times where something was trying to build up the scares, and a gag would come, and it wasn't even that funny.
Yeah.
And then
And there was a
you just
couple of-
destroyed the fucking.
There was a couple
tension.
of really bad ones in the final half hour
Yeah.
where we were really building to the ending, and then there's a couple that just
It's
I'll
not
get
even
to
just
them.
the last half hour. It was all the way through. Like there was so many instances where I was like, that joke was just in the wrong spot. It just shouldn't have been there, which was a shame.
Yeah.
I felt.
And it seemed to be the majority of that was coming from Bill Hader, which kind of undercut him a little bit too, because he didn't. I felt one of his best parts of the movie was actually at the end with Eddie.
Yeah.
He drops all that shit
Yep.
and he gets emotional and he nails it.
Yeah.
Which is kind
he
of
really does it well.
Which kind of ties into the whole Richie possibly being gay thing
Yeah.
too, right?
Not possibly. He's clearly.
Well, clearly gay, but yeah, it felt like
you
at
don't
the
carve
end,
names into a fence if you're not
Yeah.
in love with someone. So
and it was that kind of landed the whole being emotional about Eddie.
And then when they
because
come
I
out-
think he had the thing for Eddie.
Yeah.
So
When they come out when it's all over
yeah,
and they're all in the water and then
Yeah.
he just starts fucking bawling suddenly out of nowhere. You
yeah.
know? And,
It was
and
quite
again,
surprising because it was never in any of the other
No.
source material or the
No.
adaptation. Or,
well,
no, good addition though. I liked it though.
Yeah.
no,
I thought it was
I don't think it was in the book.
No.
no, it wasn't. It wasn't.
I felt, even though, look, you mentioned Paul Bunyan and all that sort of stuff, but I thought a lot of the set pieces were strong.
Did you
I
like
thought they
the
were pretty
Did you
strong.
like the Chinese restaurant set piece?
That was probably the one of the weak ones.
That was my least
But
favourite.
I've never been a fan of that one. Like, I remember watching it in the TV version and just thinking it looks goofy as all hell.
Yeah.
Like, out of the fortune cookies, It should have been like blood or something like that,
Yeah,
not like weird creatures.
The
and
little
stuff.
the little bat thing, and one of them is
Fucking
just a
thing
baby
with a
bird.
baby's head.
Yeah. Like what is that about?
So, but overall, most of the set pieces were pretty good.
Yeah.
In terms of they were well directed, they did what they got a bit of excitement to it.
Yeah.
I actually really liked the one that they did have for the trailer, which was the
Well, that
old
was my
lady.
favourite. And really, when I look back on it, I think that one and the Bleachers one are the only two that are gonna stand up in my memory against anything from the first one.
Oh no, yeah, God no.
So it's
None of them would sit with anything that was in the first.
yeah, which is one of the biggest problems that Pennywise just didn't have those times to shine. But yeah, there was a couple there. That trailer sequence was
That was good.
I thought it was even better in the movie. Like just getting that time to sort
Especially
of
those
stretch it
couple
out.
of times where you kind of saw her go flashing across
in the
darkness and she's in the nick.
she's kind of, stuttering and kind of,
Well, it's how Pennywise
man,
moves,
it
yeah.
was fucking weird.
And you know what I'm doing? Putting down me fucking cup of tea, getting straight out of there. Are you nude? What's going
But
on
seeing
here?
that's another one of those situations. Like, why is Pennywise not just sorting her out in that situation?
Yeah.
Why is she not dead?
Again,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, that was the one jump scare that got me too. Like, and it played out a little bit differently. But when you could see, like, the room was dark, but you could hear the thump thump thump
Yeah.
running towards you. Then when the fucking thing comes out, I was like, oh Jesus Christ!
Put your bra back on. But that one there felt exactly like the lady in the painting at the The
Yeah.
stand gets like it it looks so similar, like the misshapen giant thing with the footsteps and
Yeah. Kind of looked like the old lady crossed with the fucking crypt keeper or something. Fucking hideous.
But the lead up to that, like, and obviously you said you'd seen it in the trailer, but the lead up to that is really good.
Yeah, it's played out really
Yeah.
well.
And that's where the old lady goes still. That's when you're like, oh, this is clearly
So
Pennywise.
how do you
Yeah.
feel about being back in? Like she just goes silent for like about 30 seconds, and she's looking at her, and then she just goes, "So how does it feel to be back in Derry?"
Yeah.
Like fucking what?
She's like people are dying, Derry are not really dead. And then she just goes completely, and you're like, what the fuck is wrong with this bitch? Like, that's weird, mate. But when you talk about the set pieces, the one I actually really liked too was is Bill when he goes
in the
into
funhouse.
In the funhouse.
Yeah.
That was cool.
That was cool.
Yeah, I like
that
that
was
one a
probably
lot,
the best. That was probably the best one.
That was my favourite
Yeah.
big set piece. Like I think the scare underneath the.
And I love the
bleachers
fact
was
that they
good,
had that little sort of Easter egg of the clowns that are swinging back and forth
Yeah,
behind him are
being
exactly the same
Tim
as the one from the TV.
Yeah.
See, that one worked because it wasn't. Yeah, again, it wasn't Pennywise just fucking coming out of the dark.
Yeah.
It was that when he
He was
fucking
there
his
and-
face goes all nuts and then he just fucking starts slamming his head against the glass. It was like,
Yeah.
this is
See,
kind of
that's
messed up.
tension though, and like you like fucking Bill's got to save this kid, and then he doesn't. Like the kid
Yeah.
just gets minced, and you're like, fuck. Like anytime you see a kid on screen, and that's why the Georgie scene works so well in the first one. You just assume they're going to be all right because it's a little kid.
Yeah.
Like they very rarely get killed, and when he gets just like it's just blood up the screen, you're like, holy shit. So that one was good, but even just the running around like in the Hall of Mirrors, and he keeps running into the walls and stuff like that, and then clearly Pennywise is manipulating things because it gets narrow and all that sort of stuff. It builds up really well, that scene. So yeah, that was my favourite of the set pieces anyway. The big ones.
And look, I felt the final sort of confrontation with Pennywise and when he turns into kind of like a giant spider, that looked really good, special effects wise. I was actually okay with the whole idea of the shaman thing didn't work and was never gonna, and then they basically he's just a clown. He's just a clown, he's just a clown, he's just a clown.
Yeah.
And then he just shrinks up and they rip his heart out. I thought that stuff was all good. I was comfortable with the way they dealt with it.
Yeah. Well, it was a pretty, something we've seen before in movies about dealing with fear, and
But it worked.
It made it more kind of personal to them, and
it
I was
worked.
okay with that. And I think they made a wise idea by keeping when he turned into the spider. It had kept elements of Pennywise.
Yeah, it still
I
had
think
his
if it
top
had just
half.
gone to the spider, it would have been like, because Pennywise had become kind of so iconic after the first one. I think they made a wise move by kind of hedging their bets and having it. It's still Pennywise, but it's like in spider form. Like,
Yeah. No, that sequence, that was actually where most of my problems came from, was how they ended up actually beating him. Just because they just have rules. They're like, this is what we're going to do. It doesn't work. And they turn around and use the exact same strategy and then it works. And it just there's nothing materially different from the first time. They're like, oh, you're not that special. You're just this, you're just that, whatever. And he just laughs at him the first time. And then the second time they do it and he gets killed by it. Like, you're only small, you're this, you're that. And he's like, I'm the eater of worlds. It's the same as what they were doing the first time.
Yeah.
It just bugged me. It's one of those things. If you're going to set up rules, then you actually have to stick to your rules, or don't make them.
yeah, I didn't.
Did they do the same thing? They kind of did the same thing in the first film, right?
Yeah.
I
They
didn't
just took
love.
him on, but the whole idea was they'd gone away, they'd forgotten about what happened. So
I
they
didn't love
really
the
know.
scene so much, but I didn't love that element of it so much. But I felt the scene as a whole kind of did what it was. That was the part where I came out thinking I was satisfied with it.
Yeah.
Not
You've got a
necessarily.
bunch of
that I
adults
loved
fighting
it,
a
but-
giant space spider. Like, it's a tough thing to do. It's just they should have come up with a different reason that the second time, like in that one sequence, they fight him and then he comes back and he's like doing when they're stuck in the tunnel.
Some of the things that they missed from the book, I'm pretty sure they were in the book, they were definitely in the movie, was the whole idea that you took the item that you had and you used it and it became something more. Like,
Like the
his
puffer.
inhaler
Yeah.
became
And then-
Which they
a
used in the
basset.
first one, right? Yeah.
they're the earrings, so they just shoot him with the slingshot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all of that stuff was kind of used in the first chapter,
Yeah.
but not to the extent that I expected. Because when I rewatched the first chapter, I remember thinking to myself, yeah, don't they use the inhaler on his face and it
Yeah.
starts burning? But no, that wasn't really in that.
No, it's
It
only-
wasn't there.
Yeah.
They basically used it once. That
Yeah.
was in chapter 1, wasn't it? The inhaler.
I don't
That was in
remember.
chapter 1.
Yeah, it was because
Yeah.
he yells out it's acid.
Yeah. And
Oh
Space
yeah,
Area.
that bit was in it. But other than that,
Other than that, yeah.
they ditched everything
The
else.
main thing in the
which
first
is
one-
fine because I guess you're trying to sort of take it slightly,
Yeah.
Yeah.
different direction.
The main thing in the first one is when they've got the like the pneumatic gun that they
Yeah.
use for the sheep, and they shoot him with an actual bolt the first time, but then the second time it's not loaded, but because he believes that it's loaded
Yeah.
and he thinks it's going to kill him, it's the actual thing that kills him.
Yeah.
So the physical damage didn't do it, but the actual belief did, and that's what they're sort of trying to get to. But yeah, like the whole go get your tokens thing, then they burn them all in the.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
what
look,
happened to the bike? Isn't Silver supposed to be this big fucking? Like his bike was nothing in this.
yeah, they changed it up to the boat that was made to
Yeah, you got
Georgie.
the
That was
yeah.
his token,
Yeah.
which I don't believe
But
was in the book
His,
either.
his
I think
bike's
it was
this
about
massive
Silver.
big
Yeah.
deal in the book in the first movie.
But-
Yeah.
I'm with Jared here. A hard sell in anyone's.
Oh, mate, it's
You know,
tough. Don't
the
get me wrong.
book has the luxury of a huge amount of time
And
to try and
cocaine.
explain it.
Yeah.
You know, like I remember reading the book and thinking, yeah, this is kind of weird, but he gives this very detailed explanation
Hmm.
for it all. So it's look,
And the book's got the luxury of being over 1,000 pages, so by the time you get to a good sequence, you forget the 200 pages where you're thinking, what the fuck's this all about?
This turtle spewed out the whole universe, and
but you know, like in the book, they give you a big explanation about the fire at that club that they touch on only
Yeah.
very briefly in the movies, and all that stuff gets explained. So it has a luxury of being able to go deeper into it.
yeah,
The movie's working with we've only got a certain amount of time to explain this, and I think it ultimately they did it pretty well under the circumstances of what they were looking at. They made the right choices to remove things like the turtle. Although it was a little goofy listening to Mike tell us the story about how the bucket happened and he went and spoke to the shaman. I giggled during that part.
how could you not?
But overall, when it was all said and done, they ripped his heart out and squeezed it and everything and destroyed him. I was like, yeah.
Did you like what he looked like when he shrunk into himself, like a little marshmallow?
I
I laughed my head off at that bit. Like,
I had a chuckle, but I was
unintentional
like,
comedy there.
but you were kind of supposed to, in a way, like he's just become this fucking...
joke, yeah.
Yeah, it was...
It reminded me of Blade 1. Remember Pearl from Blade 1?
Yeah, that's right.
And he just shrinks away and melts. I was like, oh, God, that looks shit. But yeah, that was purely unintentional comedy, that one.
Yeah, overall, I accepted it for what it was and thought they did as good a job as they could have
Yeah.
with the material.
I think the last half hour was... Yeah, I was really...
Yeah, it came home.
pretty
It
happy
came
with
home with
it.
a flourish and was
Pretty happy
exciting
with
and
it.
everything. And I actually, my last like was, I was comfortable with the way they ended it. Ben and Beverly got together. And,
Finally.
And
Stupid.
see, they ditched part of what was in the book was that Bill's wife became catatonic, I think, at one point.
Yeah, and he has to put her on the bike
Yeah,
to bring
yeah,
her back
and
to
then
life.
she sort of wakes up. So that was all gone
Yeah,
because
thankfully.
his wife was in it, but
Yeah.
only
barely.
in it briefly.
Yep.
But I actually like that. Most people have got a problem with the end of the book, but the actual end of the book, like when they finally finish up with Pennywise, it's all about losing friendships and you know, friendships die.
Yep.
And because they leave Derry and then they start forgetting each other again.
Yep.
And I remember reading the book and fucking tearing up because I thought that's such a
poignant.
poignant
And you
thing
think
to
about
say.
people you're best mates with at school
Yeah,
and you don't even
yeah.
speak to
It
anymore.
was such a poignant way to end it.
Yeah.
But I think they did a good job here as well.
Yep.
I think they took the material and did the right things with it. And ultimately, the back end of it's probably its strength, one of its strengths. You know, it does end pretty well and comes home with a bit of a flourish. I got a couple of negatives in there, though.
Yeah, same. Well, yeah, I've got a couple that we skipped over a bit. Although the whole sequence of it wasn't overly successful, and I agree with Gibbo that second act where they're going to get their totems has some issues. I kind of like the idea that they all had to split up and get their own thing, and revisiting the time when they weren't together, where they were fighting, and that's why we see some of the things that we perhaps didn't see in the first one. Parts of it felt like a reason just to keep the good stuff from the first movie in the second one, like to get the kids back for a bit. But
Which you're happy about, though.
yeah,
The kids are still good.
Yeah, and I felt like yeah, I felt like it was kind of cool seeing some of the people revisit the fears and the stuff that they had that they wanted to leave in Derry,
Yeah.
visiting it solo.
Yeah.
So I kind of like the idea of setting that up. Couple of cracking cameos. Stephen King's was excellent.
Yeah.
I love the bit when he's like, the ending was shit house or something like that. That was really good. But the other one that I loved was Ben. Remember when they do the fake out early with the guy in the boardroom that looks just like little Ben?
Yeah.
But then it's actually another guy who looks just like little Ben but without the weight and everything.
Yeah.
Old Ben in the boardroom is Ben from the miniseries.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I was looking at him going, wow, he looks familiar and looks just like Ben. And then
Who was that? Was that anyone of note?
he's not anyone of note, but I think it was one of the few things he did. But yeah, he was Ben in the 90s. So I was kind of like, that's a
For some reason I
really
thought
nice
Ben was
callback.
John Ritter.
No, John.
In the first one.
Yeah, in the
Yeah, he's
Not the
the
old
grown-up one.
So he was the kid
The
Ben
kid in the first one.
the
original.
kid version.
So
Yeah.
the kid
Grown
version
up.
of Ben in the
Right.
original plays what you think is gonna be the old up Ben, the grown up Ben
Yeah.
in the new
Oh, that
one
is cool.
until they do
Yeah,
the
he's
I
fake
didn't
got
even
that guy with
notice
the
that.
glasses.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I didn't notice that at
They do
all,
the
but that's a
fake out.
really cool little addition.
Yeah, I really liked it. I also liked the fair. I know we said the funhouse scene, but I thought the fair in a small town was just a really common way to go for bringing back the fond memories from being a kid. It's
Yeah.
just one of those things that you often you think about a fair and you always think about the times you had there when you were younger and stuff like that. Like, you know, the nights at the fucking Canberra show and things
yeah.
like that.
Before it was $1,100 for a
Yeah,
ride.
exactly. Yeah. $18 for a hot dog and a Coke. And, I thought that was a really nice way to kind of link the old characters to their sort of young, fond memories and things like that as well. And that was about it for me, I think, for the likes.
All right, the dislikes. I think the major one. Well, there's two big ones for me. Pennywise just isn't that. He's not really scary at all.
No.
For me.
Other than a couple
There are a
of
couple of
sequences.
unnerving sort of sequences with him, but for the most part, he doesn't hit the mark like he did in the first one.
Yeah.
And that's not the performer's fault or anything like
No,
that.
it's just the way the
it's not
tone of the
there.
movie is and
Yeah.
the story that.
And the other thing is, there's just that little stuff in the middle about the bucket that I couldn't. I started laughing in the
You
theatre.
couldn't get on board with the
I
bucket.
couldn't really get on board, even though I think they did a smart move to try and gloss over it as quickly as possible. Like, they kind of whipped through it pretty fast, as if to sort of say, "Look, they won't even notice."
Yeah. Look, they made the decision to say, look, we can't cut all the mysticism and things like that. We got to mention the bloody ritual of Tude and all this sort of stuff, but let's just do it quickly. And let's do it when Bill's high as a kite, so we can sort of speed through these.
Do you reckon
visions and
King
things.
was on set for his cameo going, "Oh, you got to leave that in"? Buddy, the director's going, "Oh, shit."
How are we going to do this? Drug-addled fucking hallucinations. That's the only way.
Yeah. King's like, "Listen, I'll get us some gear. I'll show you what it's like,
It'll
mate.
be
It's
great."
I think, I don't know. It did feel like it was, again, they kind of messed up parts of it, as Gibbo said, when they give that time to it, but then it doesn't actually work, and it's seemingly Mike kind of knew it wasn't going to work at some points. Like, I don't know. it just-
Gee, thanks for that.
Yeah,
We are now in the deepest of shit. You tell us this thing
That's
doesn't
6
even work.
kilometres underground.
It felt a bit off. But going back to Pennywise too, the scenes that didn't really work, like one of them was Paul Bunyan, which seemed like it should have. Not necessarily the big Paul Bunyan, but when he kind of floats down from the balloons and stuff.
Yeah.
That just didn't work at all. And there was a couple of the others when the adults are going through there kind of finding their totems and that. A lot of sing-songy shit. He keeps singing and things to him. It just, yeah.
I also didn't like Eddie when he goes down underneath the pharmacy and the curtain and
that
stuff
wasn't
there.
good.
And the things dragging along the Why is Pennywise in that scenario? Like, you've got him there, like, there's no explanation for why he would set himself up as something that's tethered.
That's right, with his mum
Yeah,
tied
his
to the
mum's
thing,
tied
and
to
that
the
thing
thing.
is
Yeah.
on the, and it's got its face covered, and it keeps.
And as we said, he's got all of them dead to rights. Like, how come everyone else is so easy to kill except the Losers Club?
Yeah.
Because
When
none
they're
of them
not together.
none of them believed anything when they came back to town. I don't know. I guess you kind of get over that part.
Yeah.
'cause
Well,
it's
you need it for the
part and
story.
parcel, but I also the fortune cookie scene was
I
just
didn't
a
like that at all.
big dislike.
I would have rejigged that entirely.
Yeah.
But
And
not
done
only that,
something.
It was silly.
And I would have done something like they did with the woman in the library in the first movie.
yeah,
The
people in the
waitress could have been,
background.
in the
Yeah.
background,
Yeah.
doing those sort of jerky movements and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the fortune cookies could have come into it with blood or something coming out of them. Or
We'll have things
And
come
I
out of
did
them, but
like
not a baby face
one
on a
part I did
cicada.
like about that was they all got the cookie that had one word.
That was
Yeah,
cool.
And it
that was
said
alright.
that Eddie obviously couldn't cut it.
But wouldn't even
Yeah.
that without the creatures?
Stan, yeah.
Without the creatures, wouldn't even that have been a bit scarier?
Yeah.
It was, yes. The creatures were nonsense. Like, there's a
Yeah.
baby bird, and there's just like the
I
eyeball
felt
with
like-
tentacles.
I felt like what they needed to do with that scene, which they didn't do, is they rushed them reconnecting.
Yeah.
It was like these people don't even know why they're here, but then they're all fucking best mates within like 2 minutes, and then these fucking things start coming out. I'm like,
But everyone
I
needs a montage.
I
Hard
totally
night
would've-
on the piss they should have had.
But I
really.
totally would have liked that scene going for a couple of minutes longer and a bit better dialogue to get them all back together,
Yeah.
and then just busting open the fortune cookies.
Yeah, and it says Eddie couldn't cut it.
Yeah.
And then you could have had the woman moving around in the background. You could have had the balloon come out.
I
you know,
think you
just
could have
something
done
simple.
things better. Like, yeah,
I felt they got too
even just like
they got too
you've got the
excited
water
by
tank.
keeping that sequence.
You got
in
the water tank in the
the
background. Couldn't you have put like a fucking water tank that you can see out in the like a red balloon that you can see out in the restaurant through
Yeah.
the water tank or something like
Yeah.
that? Like,
It's basically just like they
little
gave him the
things.
extra, 40 million, and he's gone, fuck, let's use this on everything.
Yeah.
And he's just gone too big. Whereas in the first one, and even in this one, the best sequences are where he's doing less.
Yeah. And going for that creepy kind of
Yeah, like, don't turn
unnerving
into
factor.
Michael Bay.
Yeah.
Like, do you. Just because
Yeah.
you got the money, doesn't mean you have to spend it. Spend it on catering. Take it down a notch.
Yeah. Lobster.
Yeah.
Lobster
everyone
and caviar.
Yeah.
at the craft services
Yeah,
tent,
less CGI.
and less bullshit. Henry Bowers, it
got
just
wasted,
didn't
wasn't it?
work
Nah, what was the point
at
of him?
all
no.
because he didn't do anything. He didn't pose a threat.
Well, especially if you're going to cut out the husband and
Yeah.
and that sort of stuff, it felt like Bowers was going to take on that whole role.
Yeah,
And
and then all he does is stab Eddie in the mouth.
yeah. And he wasn't, as you said, even just the presence of him. If you see the car somewhere, or which they tried, but it was kind of too late by that point. It's like, yeah, he should have been.
Honestly,
he should have been creating some drama and some tension. For
based on
someone.
what they did with it, I would have cut him out entirely. He wouldn't have been in it
Well,
because
it doesn't add anything in this
there was
one.
no addition to what he did. If he'd have come back and killed one of them.
Well, he didn't even have to do that, but he had to put someone in danger.
Yeah.
And when he put Eddie in danger, it didn't
It's 5 seconds.
seem like he was in danger.
Eddie stabs him, he falls out the window and runs away. That's it.
Yeah.
All it reminded me of, too, is the dude from Stranger Things. Because of the car they put him in,
Yeah.
it felt exactly like the Stranger Things bully.
Yeah.
And it was just like, God, this has just been done.
Yeah.
Because he was really good in the first one.
Yeah,
Even opening with the kid again, how he wanders back to the house
yeah.
and starts yelling, I've still got to, I've got to kill them all. I was like, that was cool.
Yeah.
It worked really well, but then,
He's an Aussie, that
Had
kid,
old
too.
Bowers.
Yeah, I know.
is he?
Yeah.
That haircut, you'd probably tell.
Moulet! But even the guy that they have him growing up as, like, you can see him, even that, like,
Yeah,
that
the
nasty-
resemblance is there.
He clearly hasn't done as many sit-ups as he's done as a young
Did the older bloke have a mullet?
Yeah, he did.
It's pretty good. It's something you definitely see if you roll down to
Go
Western
blow your
Sydney.
dad, you mullet wearing asshole. That's such a good line from the first one.
But his involvement caused nothing.
No.
It changed nothing.
Didn't
It
accelerate
added
things.
nothing.
See, I was totally happy with the way they set it up for him to be there. If he puts someone in danger, if there's a sense of dread because Bowers is still out there, but he was just off to the side.
I actually would have gone the other route. No Bowers, because watching the original, the first chapter, you could think Bowers was dead.
He should have been.
He falls down the. He dies.
Yeah.
I would have possibly gone with the husband
Yeah, that's what I thought.
as the
First
more,
one's Bowers,
because it's
husband
more.
the
It's
next one.
more of a palpable sense of they could have integrated him better into it.
Yeah,
and
see,
put Bev in danger or put Bill in danger.
I actually think they made the right call by not having both of them.
No, one of them had to go.
I would have had Bowers because of the connection to the kids, but they just did it wrong.
Also, the Bev's husband, that guy clearly, like if he turned up and there's anyone else there other than a woman, like that guy's clearly a coward.
Yeah, he's getting walloped.
Whereas Bowers,
he wouldn't do anything.
I
He'd just
liked the
fucking-
way
yeah.
they'd set up Bowers because he was fucking clearly unhinged and he was fucking, when he was jumping on the window, I was kind of like, yeah, he's a bit creepy, he's a bit off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when he gets out, I was like, okay, well, this is good. But then from that point on, it just didn't do anything. Like they could have had the husband and they could have done it the same way and it would have been even worse because he had no, didn't have as much reason to be there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
Either way, it needed to be a threat.
It needed to
Who
be better.
knows? I mean, it might have. You could have possibly had neither of them, and then you might have lost 15 minutes.
Quite possible.
Some of you bloody bloat.
Yeah, it was definitely bloated.
And we talked about the humour and stuff like that, but there's a couple in the finale that they missed entirely. The one where it's scary, not scary, the three doors,
Yeah.
and they're looking
Yeah.
at the puppy.
Yeah.
That shit didn't work at all.
No.
It wasn't funny at all.
No.
And we were right in the guts of some
Serious
shit
drama,
was
yeah.
happening, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Everyone else is getting pulled away and whatever,
And,
and these guys are having a gig.
Hayter and Eddie suffered from it.
And
Hayter was really good for the most part, but he had a couple of really misplaced gags.
And then
Eddie had a couple of-
Eddie's dying, and his fucking gag is, "I fucked your mother." He says, "I fucked your mother," and I'm like, "Come on, like, why?
Well,
Why?"
that's just a shout back to when they were
I know, but they
I
did
didn't-
that several times.
Yeah,
about fucking his mother.
The thing was, there was a whole bunch of them to the point where I didn't even, that one there, I was kind of like, okay, like that wasn't even one of the worst ones. It was just by that point I'd gotten over it. They did it too many times.
Yeah.
It was massively to the detriment of any like kind of cause any tension, any drama. Like,
And it could have, taking that out would have perhaps built up some more of the tension, right? But also we could have, if you took a little bit more of that out, you could have given Hayter a bit more emotional resonance to his character.
Yeah.
Because he played for the first 90 minutes as basically just the smart ass funny guy.
Yeah, super aloof.
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
not invested.
It didn't. I'm not saying the performance was bad. The performance was good.
Yeah.
His performance was excellent, but he didn't have much going until things really, the shit hit the fan near the end, and then we got emotional, and it worked because his performance was good. But you could have taken away some of the jokes and given him a little bit more in that early phase.
Yep.
Which, I mean, maybe this is why my wife missed the fact that he was gay.
I don't know how
Because
you.
he was just-
I was going to say, I don't know how you missed it. Like, she was definitely
Does she
asleep,
want
mate.
everything
She
in
was
neon?
asleep.
Or
No, because I was like, didn't they call him a fag in the
Yeah.
you know, like
In
at the
flashback.
flashback?
when he
Can't-
shakes the guy's
can't
hands in the
dance.
cinema
Yes.
and then in the
Fussy.
arcade, and
Yeah,
then the guy's
and-
like, "Oh, this guy tried to have
And I
sex with
said, I
me."
said to my wife, "Yeah, that's what I was talking about." You know, she's like, "No, you're not."
Yeah, but carving the letters.
It all worked to me. I knew
It all added up.
I get added up. Yeah,
Yeah,
I got 2 plus 2. I got a good 4, but
Yeah.
she must have got like
100
44.
times out of
or something.
100. There's no ambiguity there.
I think.
And I wasn't again like the way they did that. I actually thought that was a good
Yeah, I
move
thought it
to
was
bring
good.
that in.
It was one of the angles where, you know, if you're going to make a change to some source material and things like that, I was really happy with it. I thought that
it was a
worked fine.
good, solid change.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I think humour-wise, they picked some inopportune times, and it kind of under.
Well, like you said, that Pomeranian thing, that doesn't even go anywhere. They go to those doors, they open a couple of them, do their little giggle thing, and then they turn around and go back the way they've come. There's no reason for that sequence to even exist. Nothing actually comes of it.
Unless you're going to get
That's where you cut the bloat, mate.
yeah.
That
Yeah.
sort of
bit
shit.
of that stuff comes out. Henry Bowers comes out and you're down to 215.
I'd be way more comfortable at 215. The first one didn't feel long.
See, the Bowers one really bugs me because he should have been there and he should have been good. But it was just terrible. Because he's like the extension. He's the dread when you're not standing next to a drain. When you're not next to the
real
toilet.
world threat. Yeah.
Couldn't you have taken, again, slight deviation from the source material, but Bowers kills one of the Losers Club. It means they're now down another person.
Yeah.
Stan's gone. Bowers has just killed one of them.
He just didn't complicate anything for anyone.
He complicated fuck all.
He complicated Eddie's cheek for 2 minutes.
Complicated Eddie's dental plan.
And that was it.
Yeah. Shit spot to get stabbed though too, right through the cheek.
Yeah.
It just
But
seems
even
really
they
uncomfortable.
played that even for
laughs.
kind of funny. How Eddie's reaction and then he fucking slides into the bathtub and Bowers is kind of giggling.
Because I feel that could have been a nice change to have one more of the Losers Club killed. Builds the emotion again for the club. They're now too short and they've got to take on this entity that's bigger and more powerful than it's ever been. It gives us some weight. It raises the stakes again.
Well, the guys on the guys on the Now Showing thing were basically, even in the first one, were saying they thought 7 main characters was too many. They really wanted Ben and Mike to be merged because Mike ends up being the guy that does all the library, the research going forward. But in the first one, it's Ben that has all the knowledge about the history and stuff.
Well, here's my big problem. We spoke about that in chapter 1. We said, why did Ben get Mike's story from the book? And then we get here and Mike resumes Mike's story and Ben's got no fucking... When they're talking about the town history, Ben's standing there blank face doing fuck all.
Yeah. I don't know anything about this.
Why?
You were the one that had your fucking whole room was like a shrine to Derry.
You're the one that kind of tracked it to the well house.
Yeah.
And now you don't fucking even know... You don't even know the name of the town you were living in.
So even if they did it the other way around, where Mike went off, and
Was that because once
Ben
again they were
stayed
trying to say that because Ben went away, he forgot about all this shit?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, but why did you even worry about him having the... Because the thing for me is I really liked... The one thing I liked about Mike's character was that he had the cross to bear. He bore the burden for everyone. And he was a bit messed up. I actually liked the way they played. So they didn't... The way I'm looking at it, they didn't make him the drug addict that they were talking about doing it, but it was clear that he'd been on the Indian concoctions.
He's on the peyote.
But it was sort of
He's
like...
been out in the fucking desert.
Sucking on cactuses.
Here we go. There's no drains out there.
they're licking
I've got this leather bucket.
Lick this gecko, see what happens.
Where'd you get the bucket, Mike? Oh, fuck, I can't remember. I woke up one morning and I had it with me. I was nude, I was playing the bongos.
So was the bucket, are we thinking it's leather? Does it look like leather?
I don't know what the hell
Fuck,
it
you have a
was.
fire in it without it going up. It's either wood or leather, and then they burn a bunch of shit in it, and it's fine. It's like a forge in
I
there.
don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, the other problem I had with Mike is like I really liked that they set him up that he bore the burden for everyone. Like he kind of carried their weight while they all
For
pissed off and
27
forgot
years,
about
no,
it.
he's a bit messed up.
And so he gets them back, and I felt like he should have been the link to. He should have been the key to the relationships building up again.
Yeah.
But he fucking lied to everyone. I'm like, it shouldn't have been that he had to lie to everyone. It should have been that he rekindled this friendship that they all had, and that they were going to be there because they fucking said they were going to be there. And instead, we're running around. We've got people threatening to leave, and then eventually he's like, I fucking lied to you or whatever. Everyone's going, well, fuck you, mate. I'm leaving.
That's right. That was my problem because once he lies, where does their belief come from then? There's no reason for them to think that they can succeed.
Yeah.
So I don't understand how they just turn around and say,
trying to kind of manufacture a fucking rock bottom moment for the group, but it kind of sacrificed Mike's character a little bit.
Big time.
Because I thought he did a really good job
and
too.
he should have been the one that died.
I wasn't thinking about Old Spice at all.
Was he the Old Spice guy?
So he should have been the one that died, I think, not Eddie. Like in terms of this, like sacrificing himself, like to redeem himself for the, like obviously it doesn't work.
Yeah.
For
For the
then
27
Richie
years
later
of
on.
hanging around at Derry.
But see, again,
Out into the desert, smoking weed.
what else is there to do in Derry? Like
I'm
seriously.
going to go and sit at the top of the
Otherwise,
library.
you got to go to the fucking fair and deal with those other bozos with the Meg Ryan haircuts that
The
they were
hate
talking
crime,
about.
yeah, and the extreme acne too. Like, well, have a look at the mirror. Like, That bloke, his face was a mess. He's got herpes, and he's pointing at these other two lovely guys just because they're homosexual. Like, mate, go and get some cream on it. Fair dinkum. Someone needs to bully him.
Yeah, you need to go and visit the dirty old bastard at the pharmacy and get something for that.
Oh, he was... See, that was uncomfortable, that scene too. What was with the tongue thing in this? He's like...
Man, I don't know. But yeah, I felt... See, the thing about... I think Mike surviving was one of the satisfying parts because he did carry it for so long and then he finally gets to leave and go to Florida or whatever he was going to do. But then
make old spice.
In the middle,
make old spice heads.
Go down with this. Everyone's so progressive.
Yeah, I can see him. He's going to fly out to Florida. He's like, this is a plane ticket. This is a mystical turtle. I think he it just kind of just gave his character a little bit of a hit to have to pull that shit. And the other one was Bev just didn't seem quite as strong for whatever reason. She just
nothing to do.
Sidelined again. But yeah, the casting was it's just every little thing that again, there was all these things that I picked apart about it, but I finished it up thinking I was quite satisfied.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the last thing I didn't like. I kind of liked the idea of the letter, but I didn't like it kind of placing what he did as
important to
something that he needed to do.
Yeah.
Like it just...
Well, yeah, his point was that if he had gone there with them, the group would have been weaker because he was scared. So he took one for the team and made the group stronger was the premise.
I know, but I just... It didn't sit right with me.
It just made it better that Stan wasn't just a shit human that bailed.
Well, that's the thing. I think he was going to be a shit character, but perhaps he could have been the one to turn up and get done by Bowers.
Yeah. That could have worked.
Because I think the scene where he actually did it actually kind of played out okay. You could see his fear and you could see he was fucking broken, sort of. But I just didn't like the way it placed it at the end, that I had to do this, for you guys. It was just sort of like...
So explain this to me then. How come he was scared enough to... he remembered and was scared enough to kill himself when no one else knew what had happened?
So I listened to the Losers Club, the Stephen King podcast, and they reviewed it. And they actually brought up, which I'd kind of forgotten, that he got bitten, didn't he? He got bitten by Pennywise, and so they said there was an element of him seeing the deadlights, so he had what Bev had.
Oh, okay. Because Bev was having the nightmares
so
too,
he could see what was coming.
That makes sense then, yeah.
That's right, and she had seen them all die.
Yeah.
So that was where he kind of... I mean, that sounded kind of important, like that could have been made more important in the letter or something. I don't know, but I wasn't a huge fan of that. But the ending in general, I was
okay.
Really pleased.
You left with the right
Mike driving out of town, fucking
immediately pulls over into the desert.
The windows down with fucking smoke billowing out of the car.
You see him packing his suitcase, undies, pound of marrow, small bag of cocaine, magic mushrooms,
and some frogs.
Because I like to wake up after a big session. I like to wake up cuddling my bucket.
It's a yodel bucket now, though. Just for when he has a bad trip, he's got to fill it up with some chunder.
Yeah, he'd be crying Ruth after a couple of those sessions.
Any other dislikes?
The drugstore guy's daughter, the fact that she's in exactly the same rig as when she was a small child seemed like a bit of a stretch. She's got the same earrings on, same denim jacket over with a scrunchie and shit. It's like, oh, come on, we know who it is. Give us a bit of credit there.
I felt like Eddie should have told her to fuck off on the way out or something.
Yeah.
Well, I love when he's running, he's panicking, and then she tells him it says push, hun. It's pull now or something like that.
That was kind of funny.
Push one or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I didn't have any other specific stuff anyway. Except at the Neibold house. How the fuck is that still there? It was already decrepit.
If I'm the neighbour, I'm saying... I'm fucking at
it's plummeting your stock value.
I'm at the dairy council every fucking Monday morning at 8 o'clock saying, knock that fucking thing down.
Mate, do you not just grab a fucking Molotov and just go, achoo, and then throw out a Molotov through the window? Burn the joint down?
I'm saying, listen, I've told you repeatedly there's some fucking weird leper who keeps coming out, keeps talking to me.
Every time I walk past the fucking house, I hear giggling and I see a cloud in the window. Shit's freaking me out.
Fucking crackheads in there.
Knock that joint down.
Yeah, that was my only other dislike, which we mentioned earlier. If Pennywise is so caught up in the drains, how come he's never attacked anyone on the crapper? Seems like a natural place to scare somebody.
Maybe he doesn't like that entry point. He comes out doing his little shtick and then he just gets a log in the face.
Yeah.
Oh, that didn't pan out. I'm not as scary.
Hey, oh, shit.
Facial skid mark. Yeah, that's all I got. I got no other specific stuff.
No, neither do I. Look, overall, yeah, I'm a bit like you, Jared. It was satisfying. It completed
Despite the issues.
Yeah, it had its share of issues and a lot more than the original, the first chapter, but it did the job. As far as King adaptations go, especially one as bulbous as this one.
Bulbous. That's great.
You know, any fucking book that's 1,100 pages long.
It's quite the tome.
It's a fucking doorstop. On top of that, you need 5 hours to tell that story.
Well, that's
So
the thing.
they've done
If
that.
you're going to try and adapt it, I think they did it the right way. They split it into the 2 movies.
Yeah.
I like the way that they tried to split, children, adults.
Yep. But they kept.
But I
The
need more
children
mystical
flashback.
turtles in my fucking 5 hours of Stephen King.
I need the entire Losers Club out in the desert, fucking banging on bongo drums and chanting.
Who think it would be a good idea to get adults that can actually act? Like, in the TV series, there's dead set not a single person amongst the can act. Like, not one.
I think
Even Ritter is just...
You will not speak ill of John Ritter.
it's not career best for Ritter. I think
It's not his best form,
I
but
think
shit.
there's a shitload that was left off too. They're
Probably.
talking about the stuff that was left out being significant, like
Oh, yeah, yeah.
over an hour.
Jesus.
So-
Director's cut, anyone?
Well, yeah, that's they're talking,
We're talking about a supercut.
Supercut.
Oh, all of it together.
All of it together.
Yeah, a solid 6 hours then.
I'm not watching that in the
That's a full
fucking
Sunday.
cinema, right? Yeah.
If we do a supercut,
I'll be fucking squeezed up like a pocket knife.
I could do a supercut, but I might need Mike's bucket to make it a bit more interesting.
Fuck, mate, I'll
You'll
need to be on
the
that
tin man
caffeine
from Wizard of
pills.
Oz. Want to go in there with some fucking oil and grease up your joints to get you out of there.
Yeah, oh, gee, the seat's sounding a bit fucking rickety there. No,
Yeah,
that's
that's
my
me.
knees.
Yeah. Sir, the movie's over. You have to leave. I can't.
Yeah,
Roll me down the aisle.
I've been trying to.
Look, I'll leave in 4 to 6 hours. That's on. Come on,
Need to warm back up.
Yeah, so you get to the 3rd hour of the supercut and you'd have to start sitting up to get to prepare.
I need a Smokey Dawson chair just to get out. Yeah. I get up, stretch for 45 minutes.
I'm just going to stand up for this last bit. I can't sit back down.
Yeah, get your smoky remote up. You imagine if you could put that thing on wheels though. I would get out of it.
What a life. It's basically just a GoPro, let's be honest.
All right, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, and Podomatic. Send us an email at thrillme@iinet.net.au.
Can you hit us with a Deezer update?
Mate, we could be on there for all I know.
Yeah.
I'm decided to just let it slide.
Did Deezer just take as long to post a podcast as you do to get out of the cinema?
They've just gone, this stuff is shit. We're not putting it on our bloodies. We're on Facebook at Thrill Me Podcast Australia and at Podomatic at thrillme.podomatic.com. We're also on Instagram at Thrill Me Podcast AU. Keep an eye on the Facebook page for further details. As we said at the start of the episode, Rambo Last Blood's coming out in a couple of weeks, so we'll definitely be knocking that out. But until then, take it easy and we'll catch up with everyone later. Cheers. Find the podcast at Podomatic or on iTunes. Don't forget to rate and review. Like us on Facebook at Thrill Me Podcast Australia or contact us at thrillme, all one word, all lowercase, at iinet.net.au.